Welcome to the Sarpy County Board of Equalization meeting. Today is Tuesday, February 7, 2023. It is 3:01 p.m. A copy of the Nebraska Open Meetings Act is located on the north wall of the county boardroom. And we have present today Commissioners Mixon, Warren, Kelly, and Burmeister. Commissioner Klug is absent today. We'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Silence itself.
Angie, you need to announce the assessor, and the assessor has to be on file today.
Thank you. One of these days I'll get it, Deb.
You got it. You're going.
Also present with us today is the county assessor, Dan Pittman, and the county administrator, Dan Hoynes. Moving along to the consent equalization agenda, item 4.1 is tax corrections 17080 to 17084. Dan Pittman, county assessor. Anybody want any items to be removed from the consent agenda? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second. Beat you.
Moved by Commissioner Warren, seconded by Commissioner Kelly to approve the consent agenda. Please vote.
Ayes 4, absent Klug.
Item 5.1 is the minutes.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Warren, seconded by Commissioner Kelly to approve the minutes. Please vote.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, Ayes, Kelly, Burmeister, Warren. Oh, shoot, I just knocked it off. Okay, abstain, Mixon, and absent Klug.
Item 5.2 is tax corrections 17075 to 17079 and 17085 to 17114. Dan Pittman, county assessor.
Good afternoon. This time of year, for about 3 weeks, you'll be seeing a lot of tax corrections because people are reacting to their tax statements, and they'll sometimes interact with the county assessor to point out maybe an error or correction that's necessary. And this is that time of year when that window opens that we can do that, make those corrections. I can tell you that I have worked with the county attorney's office on, I believe, every one of these items to answer some questions for legal concerns and some explanations of why changes were made. But if you have any questions, I'll try to answer those.
Yeah. I have a question. Some of them are blacked out, and there's a few less, I think, today than there was in the read-ahead package. Well, why are those blacked out?
I don't know who blacked them out. I noticed that they took the regular the agenda and made a consent and made a regular out of one agenda. So maybe somebody else knows who blacked them out.
So they're not relevant anymore, or?
Are you talking about, were they blacked out, or there's like a big X on them?
Well, on the tax corrections list, on page 1, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 items that are just marked out.
Let me go to that. I believe it's pulled up here. So if I go to tax corrections 5.2.
Commissioner, if I may.
Oh, I see them.
It appears that the items that you're talking about were blacked out were the ones that were on the consent agenda.
So, okay.
And are they on consent because they're Turk corrections? Is that why they're moved to consent?
I believe so.
Okay. I guess. It just,
It looks like it's the same report, and on the report with the regular agenda, these 5 were on the consent. And so if you
Okay,
look at
so-
the consent report,
so those are from the consent agenda, that's why they're blacked out? 'Cause they're-
yeah,
okay.
it's the same report.
Okay, that's good. Thank you. That makes sense, I guess. The other question I had is a lot of these, you just said there was going to be a lot of tax corrections coming up, right?
Yes.
And why is that again?
A variety of reasons. Some are homestead, some are personal property, some are real property, and then some would fall in the area of clerical errors. Some are just mistakes or corrections that were brought to our attention by a taxpayer. So it's just a garden variety of things that we correct when the statutes allow us to make the corrections.
Okay. One of the things that I picked up on, and this is only 1 week of tax corrections, actually 5 days. And there's 4 pages, let's just say 3, because all those blacked out ones don't count or were already addressed. But a lot of these changes are as a result of taxpayer inquiry, and in many cases, it looks like the tax was reduced. In some cases, there were tax increases, but those were all as a result of, for the most part, an assessor's change. So what's the acceptable amount of changes? You know what I mean? I mean, because there's probably over 50, about 50 approximately in 5 days. What's an acceptable amount of errors that would be addressed by either a taxpayer inquiry or an assessor find, I guess?
Anything that's incorrect has to be corrected. Now, as far as an error, it might be, and I'll grab some examples here, where a taxpayer sent their personal property schedule to the wrong county. And then when it was discovered, it got sent to Sarpy County.
Okay.
So we added to the tax rolls. There's one, I'm going from memory now because I went through all these today, homestead exemption, where a person owns multiple homes and the homestead was put on the wrong home. And then once it's brought to our attention via a tax statement being mailed out, said, no, this one shouldn't have been taxed. Then we can go in and make that correction. And whether it was a human error or a computer error, it still has to be fixed.
So did we send out postcards?
We sent out postcards to ask people to please go online and look at their property file and go through all the sales and all the neighborhood reports that we provide to the public and ask us questions now before they have a value that gets reduced to an abstract that gets sent to the state. And then the next window that would open for them to question their value would be on June 1st, and the whole month of June would be the protest period time.
Okay, and then since you've done all the postcards, I mean, what's the preliminary, have you ran preliminary numbers yet on what the valuation changes were for last year?
I don't have a median. We've had some as high as 15%. We have others, I would say the median might be closer to 8%. It's been very high. The sales that we are seeing, everything, the majority of single-family residences that go on the market stay on the market a short time, and people are paying 100% of where the asking price is for.
Yeah.
So our market's still strong. We're reading about it softening up sometime soon. We'll see it when the new data rolls into our database for 2004, but not right now.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Dan?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Move to approve by Commissioner Warren, seconded by Commissioner Kelly. Any further discussion? Please vote.
Ayes 4, absent Klug.
All agenda items having been addressed as published, the Board of Equalization is adjourned. We'll reset for the Board of Commissioners.
Give me just 1 minute here. Okay.
Okay, I'll call to order the Sarpy County Board of Commissioners meeting. Today is still February 7th, 2023. It's 3:10 p.m. We have present Commissioners Mixon, Warren, Kelly, and Burmeister. Commissioner Klug is absent. We also have our County Administrator, Dan Hoynes, our County Clerk, Deb Hotaling, and I believe our County Treasurer, Trace Jones, is here. Any commissioners' comments, starting with Commissioner Kelly?
Yeah, thank you. I have a couple comments. The first one is I went to Lincoln with our county administrator last Monday, and it was a fun field trip. We got to testify before the Natural Resource Committee, and we were advocating for funds I mean, you may all be reading about this $2 billion excess that's sitting down at the state. So we went down to advocate for some of that for one of the biggest economic development projects in the state. And I expected a warm reception. And I would say that I missed it by a mile. But I think we did a good job telling our story because we got a great story to tell. We have a economic project with the sewer that's going to provide a return on investment of over 25,000% if it, if the pro forma is anything like even close. And I can't think of another project in the state that's going to deliver those kind of returns. And we spent about 45 minutes. I think we convinced most of the committee that that's a pretty good business case for spending some extra money in Sarpy County. So we'll see how it goes. We hope to meet with the governor here in the next week or two and also hit that really hard. But unfortunately, and I mentioned this today, we met with the mayor of Bellevue, and Bellevue's got a lot of things going on, really great, exciting things. And, we keep reading about this money that the state has, this excess, but when you go down to Lincoln, you almost get the feeling like it's already been spent, or at least it's been accounted for. So I hope that's not the case. I think everybody wants property tax relief. I know I do, and I know most of the Sarpy County citizens do. And I think we need to fix our education funding and how that's done, and everybody gets that. But I think we got to also invest in Nebraska a little bit, and that's what's going to bring more people, more growth, and more prosperity. The second thing is I got a call this weekend from Commissioner Burmeister. And, I was watching the news like you guys all were, and I thought for sure she was calling me to authorize the shoot down of that balloon. But unfortunately, that wasn't the case. And then fortunately, the government got around to taking care of that, so I didn't have to. But I was glad to see that thing come down from the sky. So
I'm
that's
grateful it
my
wasn't me
comments.
either.
Thanks.
Commissioner Warren.
Yesterday, I was able to come and witness the graduation at the drug court, and truly an inspirational time to be able to listen to people's stories, the struggles they've gone through in life, and just always the encouragement and the hope that the changes are lasting and stick. So good. It's a good project. It's a good investment tax dollar.
Commissioner Mixon?
No comment.
Dan?
Nothing, Madam Chair.
Okay. The next is the consent commissioner's agenda. Would anybody like to see any items removed from the consent agenda?
Move the adoption.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's moved to approve by Commissioner Warren, seconded by Commissioner Kelly. Please vote.
I'm sorry, A's 4, absent Klug.
Item 5.1 is the minutes from January 31st, 2023.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Move.
Oh, I lost.
There you go. All right.
Uh-oh.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Kelly, a second by Commissioner Warren. Any discussion? Please vote.
A's, Kelly, Burmeister, Warren, abstain, Vixen, and absent Klug.
Item 6.1 is discussion and update from Omaha Public Power District. Dan Hoynes and Michaela Valentine, Government and Community Relations Manager, OPPD.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I will yield my time to the madam from OPPD to introduce our team.
Thank you, Dan. Good afternoon, Commissioners. Michaela Valentine, Omaha Public Power District. We have a few things to update you on today, but wanted to announce that we've expanded the local government affairs team, which I'm thrilled about because we're in 13 counties and have over 250 elected and appointed officials. So I'd like to introduce you to Dustin Marvel and have him tell you a little bit about himself.
Good afternoon, Commissioners, and thank you for making time for us today. As Michaela alluded to it, I am new to OPPD, and I came over from BNSF Railway, where I spent 14 years in law enforcement for them and a short stint prior to that in law enforcement over in Southwest Iowa. During my time with the railroad, I was fortunate enough to work alongside some of the OPPD members and kind of get a feel for how some of the projects and processes go, and so I'm happy to join the team. I am here, just like Michaela, to kind of help answer questions for you along the way, kind of help give any guidance that I can be for any projects and that sort of thing. It's a pleasure this afternoon because we actually do have our Vice President here with us to kind of give you an update on some of the processes that during a lot of my introductions have been my responsibility. So it's nice I get to kind of take it easy today. So with that, I will pass it along to our Vice President. Take over from there.
Thanks, Dustin. Good afternoon, Commissioners. It's great to be here with you today to give you an update on our Power with Purpose project. My name is Brad Underwood. By title, I'm the Vice President of Systems Transformation. Primarily, that's a system planning function. So where is our infrastructure going in order to serve what our customers are ultimately asking of us? I'd like to give you an update on Power with Purpose, as you've heard, but Power with Purpose, for those that weren't as familiar, is about a 1,200 megawatt infrastructure deployment. It's 600 megawatts of natural gas and up to 600 megawatts of solar. To give you scale, our system peaks about 2,500. So if that order of magnitude is helpful relative to the size of the facilities we're deploying. We're growing like never before. A lot of that's in Sarpy County, as many of you have been promoting and have been seeing, and it really creates a unique demand on the utility to grow at the speed and pace that our communities are growing. Solar will continue to be a part of our plans, and I'll show you a little bit of an image later on the role we hope solar will play for us. But for clarity, we're hoping our energy infrastructure conversations will continue with this county and other counties in our 13 county service territory. And we don't have any plans for more solar in the area of the county that you all have expressed that you have different development plans for. We thought it was important to come and say that. And we have no changes to the fact that we will continue to respect your direction around areas that you would like us to consider and not consider. So we look forward to those conversations continuing. As we continue pursuing energy supply and transmission resources, it's important to continue the message that we continue to experience extraordinary growth. It's from all of our customer classes, residential, commercial, and industrial, and it's from a variety of industries. Ultimately, more demand on the utility will require more resources to serve that demand, and we're happy and honored to continue to do that for our communities. Picture's worth 1,000 words, and so we'll move to the photos. This is Turtle Creek Station. This is the facility in Sarpy County. Real quick, on the top left there, you see the generator, which is actually the device that produces electricity for us. On the right, you see a derivative from aircraft. You see a combustion turbine that uses natural gas and fuel oil to spin the shaft that spins the generator to keep the electricity on our lines. Construction progress at Turtle Creek is moving. It's progressing nicely. In late 2022, the project hit this milestone with delivery of these assets to the site, which is a significant moment in the risk profile of the project to have this bulk engineered equipment delivered and set on the pedestal. That's that concrete slab that I'm referring to. All in all, there's about 40,000 cubic yards of concrete that have been poured across our two projects. A cubic yard is something like this. If you can see my hands, and you can think 40,000 order of magnitude. And so it's really a significant project. In January, we got both sets of turbines and generators, and we placed them on their pedestals. We've also made progress on the administration building, which will house the maintenance and operations for those of our colleagues that will be working there. We're erecting those facilities, and the framing is up and in progress. We move to the next slide here, which there may be a delay. This photo is north facing around the substation. So effectively power will come out of that high side of that generator into the substation. It'll be stepped up into the transmission network at that point. In the substation area of the site, there's concrete duct bank pours, ground grid installation, and steel support erections are underway, as you can see in the picture. The project's about 45% complete. All of this infrastructure had significant lead times that require detailed engineering, specifications to be derived, procurement packages to be awarded, material fabrication and delivery. So at this point in our project, we could use it as we construct it on site. These projects are tremendous in size, and the implications for any utility are significant, including OPPD. My second to last slide here, you'll be able to see a little bit different vantage point of Turtle Creek. So if you can see in the middle there, it's hard to make out, but there's basically 2 concrete pads or pedestals that are being erected. Those are what you just saw 2 slides ago, where the generator and the turbine engine will sit on. This photo was taken in November of 2022, and the team reached an important milestone by getting a lot of the foundations poured as we were coming out of winter and we get to a spring season. That's very important for us to make sure we make adequate progress on the project. Finally, I thought I'd show you a slide here that we've received pretty good feedback on that really does a better job of visualizing what we've been trying to articulate as it relates to the importance of each of the assets. OPPD is planning for increased energy demands and an increased regulatory obligation. I'll explain that in a minute. There are significant consequences in continuing to add load and potentially not being able to add energy supply. So let's take a look at these series of images. The first graph, you see a 2022 red dot. That was our system peak at that time. The dark black line is where the system was projected to grow about this time period over the next 2 or 3 years. So you can see the dark black line, and then the dotted line is the margin that we carry on the system in the event generators are not able to perform, so that the customer who's using electricity is none the wiser. And we work very hard to ensuring that customers don't have to consider those energy management implications. The gray, the large body of gray there is our existing resource. So we have a lot of diverse resources that are in that gray mix. If you move to the right, the red is where the natural gas comes in. So those facilities that I talked about are approximately 600 megawatts between 2 sites, and that's that red that you see stacking right on top of the gray. You'll also notice that we haven't satisfied all the white. So we have to satisfy all the white to make sure there's sufficient resources and able to provide reliable service that our customers have come to enjoy for approximately 75 years. The image on the right is the yellow, where we're overlaying solar. And so that solar generation in those periods of summer where it's hot, you couldn't buy a gust of wind if you wanted to, and all of the AC units in our eastern Nebraska service territory are running and our system is peaking. We want to make sure that we have enough supply to serve our customers when they need it the most. My final comment is around total resources. That image on the right with the dark line and the dotted line will continue to rise. So as our community continues to grow and consumes the resources that we're putting in motion with some of our major projects, we'll have to have more conversations about more resources. So we're trying to be more intentional to share this with those in the community so that they have a better understanding of the state of the utility and the events that will be approaching us in the near future. And you'll hear more about those conversations over the coming months, would be my suspicion. But again, brief closing comments. I'm thrilled to be here. Thank you for the time, and I'd love to answer any questions that anyone has.
Any questions for Brad?
When my phone rings, the top question is, when are they going to put in the lake? Which is probably never. And the second question they ask is, what's going to happen with solar? And it's usually from people along the southern boundary of my district, Buffalo Road, and in that area south. That's probably one of the highly one of the most highly protected areas from development with its conservation easements and conservation zoning. And rumor has gotten to that area that may be the area that OPPD is looking at. Can you add anything to that?
Yeah, I appreciate you sharing that. I can tell you that we're not looking at any project in that area. My memory of the area is there's some low-lying elevation, if I'm following you correct, sir. And so there's some, water considerations down there. But we have no projects in that area of the county. And my expectation, and I believe my bosses, is that in the event that we do have an area that it might make sense that this group or a subset of this group would hear about it very quickly before it materialized. And I just want to articulate that we stay committed to that.
Yeah, with that zoning down there, to me, that would make no sense to put it in that area. And it's not low lying. It's, if you're familiar with Buffalo Road, it's a fairly high peak on the southern end of the county.
Okay.
And just my opinion, the good place for solar in this area, I don't think there is any, because it's growing and it's growing fast, and it's going to fill up with homes. It's going to fill up with other things. And what isn't going to fill up is protected, that area in particular, with zoning. One other comment, it would be nice sometime to bring, I want to see an OPPD elected official. I vote for them, but I don't think I've ever had one to our meeting. Have I missed it? We appreciate that you're coming out for administration, but those are the feet on the ground. Those are the ones that I'd like to visit with and give us reports as far as what's happening in this area. The other question, you'd mentioned the peaks that are going on with OPPD. Could you tell me approximately what is the demand for electricity in Sarpy County compared to Douglas County?
Sir, I don't have that off the top of my head.
Can that be found out?
I'd be happy to see if the teams can pull that. Yeah.
Yeah. I know it's available, and we had heard at one point in time that the small area down south or down along Highway 50 pulled a considerable amount of power. And I'm just curious to see how do we compare now, the small county compared to Douglas? The other thing, and this is kind of in the way of request, and I've requested it before, what sounds will be emitted from your substation right next to the landfill? What are the level of the sounds at the generators? You mentioned a jet turbine.
Yeah.
Do we know the decibels that'll put out?
Specifically at Turtle Creek, we have the information. I don't have it in front of me. I do know that there is well-published decibel sound regulations there, and we expect to be, compliant with what those are. And I'm sorry you haven't gotten it if you've asked for it, but we'll get that.
And the other thing that would be interesting, and I put this request in before, you're spending a lot of money in that area, and you just mentioned that you're doing hundreds of thousands of yards of concrete.
Yeah.
Is there any way that OPPD would consider taking the immediately around that parcel of ground and paving the road?
We can go back and look at that. There's some, of course, coordination with the county and any sort
And
of.
we'd be happy to
things we
coordinate with
do.
you.
Yeah.
I see heads nodding back there.
Yeah. I know everybody likes paved roads. I understand that. And so, to be honest, sir, that's the first I've heard of this request in particular. You may have made it to our organization, but we can take that back as well.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
I just have a few comments, and just from my personal observation. I was up in Valley, Nebraska, and I looked at, Valmont, and I see an array of solar panels on their property. And I thought, wow, that's a pretty good idea. And I also know that, because this has been said to us as well, on Highway 50, obviously, with all the data centers and the need for power and how much power they do need, et cetera. And all of the facilities OPPD has along Highway 50. It's great. I'm not complaining about those. But I also look at the rooftops of Google, all these big buildings.
Yeah.
And then besides the rooftops, you have a lot of land that these organizations have. And I was just wondering if somehow you could mix the solar panels within, because I think these companies are companies that like the renewable energy as well. And I also think that it's already there, and that land is just really just sitting there. Now, on top of the building, there might be an issue with their servers and everything that they have inside. I get that. But I think there's a lot of land in there that, and we have the facilities and the infrastructure for OPPD already in place. So, because what we hear is it's the transmission. You need to be close so the transmission doesn't cost as much money. So, of the electricity, when you're generating it from an area. And hopefully I'm saying this somewhat.
You were very close. I'm following you. Yes,
Okay.
sir. Yep.
All right, so I'm just, my observation is all of that is there, and I don't know how much OPPD works with the companies that are there, because obviously the companies are coming to us through our planning, through everything else, and you know, we have the understanding. We know there's a need for all this power. So I'm just trying to think, how can we bring it all together and work together instead of now going out and taking up more land when I see other areas, and even driving in Missouri, I see a lot of spots where they're not big, you know, it's not like hundreds of acres, but they have their solar spread around quite a bit. And I don't know, so those are my comments, just observations. And if there's something we can do in that regard, I think that would be, I think that'd be great.
Yeah, I'd like to respond if that's okay, sir. Want to give you a quality response and also respect customer-specific information. My highly confident suspicion is that those customers who elect to put solar either on their roof of their home or in their yard, if they have an acreage or whatever they're doing, it isn't able to meet their complete demand, and they know that. So if you couple the fact that there are limitations there as far as their ability to get enough of it, and the fact that from a structural perspective, some of the roofing complicates this. There's HVAC equipment. There's a lot of stuff up there that sometimes is veiled from the elevation of the roadway. But we do work with those customers and anybody else who wants to try and get that done. We have a couple of what I would call retail electric rates that folks can go on, and many do. In the system planning area, I'm having a hard time keeping up with requests for customers that want to put solar on their house, and I certainly don't want to be an obstruction for those, but we have to do a safety analysis and a check and some sign off, including potentially with the jurisdiction involved, the city, and so on and so forth. So there are customers that consider doing that. I think your observations are intuitive. It may not be best for all customers, and they usually make that decision themselves, but we're happy to help where we can.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Any other questions?
Yeah, just a couple. Brad, thanks for coming. Appreciate it. Welcome to your newest member of the Government Affairs team. Hey, those charts you showed me make me a little nervous. I'm looking at our current resources, and I think these are 2027 projections with your peak power. does that green represent Turtle Creek and the Standing Bear Station in North Omaha
I believe in the handout, sir.
for
you're
natural
correct.
gas?
It is green. In the handout, it's green.
So even with the addition of those two natural gas plants, we're still not going to meet the need in 2027.
We do need more resources, yes, sir.
So is OPPD actively looking for another site for natural gas, which seems to be the easiest, most expedient approach to follow?
Yeah.
And the only reason I say that, and I'm not a big fan of solar, no secret there, okay? But I think it could be useful, but when I look at the chart here with the orange, and you can just see how much more megawatts can be generated with natural gas and or, fossil fuel resources and or nuclear, obviously, although we don't have a nuclear license anymore at OPPD, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, but when I look at the orange line, it doesn't seem as cost effective as natural gas would be. So I think one of the things that worries me as somebody that's trying to create economic development and attract businesses and people to Sarpy County, is OPPD going to be able to keep up with the need? Now, I saw some initiatives that are coming down the chute here from Senator McDonald about bringing semiconductors and other kinds of businesses that are huge, huge consumers of electricity. So there's, are we going to be able to meet all these requirements? Not even to mention if we build a lake out in Jim's backyard out there by the Platte River, that big giant lake the size of Okoboji. Think of how much economic development that's going to spur. So it just is a little bit concerning that we actually have to have a solar farm to meet the peak, because that I know of, there's no other planned natural gas. And you certainly can't shut down the coal, right?
Yeah, so you made a lot of great statements there, sir. While I'm not going to be able to revive the totality of conversations back when we articulated power with purpose and why we thought that was the right solution, I'll try and summarize it. At that time, before decarbonization plans that we did, before a lot of things that have happened over the last few years, we were looking critically at our resource mix from a diversity perspective and also keeping bills low. And so that's right in our mission of affordable, reliable, and environmentally sensitive. And what we found in the analysis is that the diversity acquired from different resource mixes serves the customers the best. It keeps the reliability high. It keeps the bills low.
Yeah.
And we've had a number of instances over the last few years that I think have unfortunately made some of these dynamics come alive, where we're able to see these futures as system planners, but not everybody does. And I'll give you a brief example. The conflict in Ukraine. Natural gas went from $2 an MMBTU to 10 overnight. Total hockey stick, whipsaw, as we supported our allies in Europe with exports. The American natural gas market became an international national gas market. And so every resource has limitations, and every resource has strengths. And what we've tried to do is acknowledge them for what each are and the value that we can unlock, bringing them together in the right ways. And so that was kind of what I think was a rather long discussion on power with purpose that I can't totally duplicate here, but that was what we were going for.
Yeah, I guess one of the concerns I have with solar is it's just, the payback's like 25 years, So, I mean, those solar farms are around for a long time, and technology's changing at such a rapid pace that solar farms may seem like the best things to slice bread today, but in 10 years it could be obsolete because they the technologies, with micro reactors or who knows what else is out there, hydrogen. And I mean, there's all kinds of different things. So that's the only concern I have. The primary concern I have with solar is that it's such a long project. A solar farm basically is a 3-decade commitment. And I just think it makes me nervous to think about tying up land resources like that. We got to work together. And I've told Javier that consistently, and we want to work together because we have to be partners in economic development. It doesn't do us any good to attract businesses if we can't provide them safe and affordable and reliable power. So, but I'm just looking at your chart here. I'm pretty sure that you guys, I'm sure you're accounting for future growth, but from what I see, Sarpy County could essentially double in size over the next 20 years, and we're going to be that line will go even above where you have it projected now in the orange. So I just look at it and I say, well, it looks to me, just at first glance, that the green provides a lot more return on investment in terms of energy year-round than the orange does. So I think we need to be looking, and I'm sure your board is, looking at other options, because the growth, at the end of the day, I always tell this to people, the growth's coming, and there's not a dang thing we can do to stop it. Okay, so do we want to be the people that taxpayers are saying, what the heck were these people thinking? My gosh, they can't even build enough substations and enough power plants to keep the lights on. We sure don't want to be California with rolling blackouts and all the issues that they have. So I'm just hoping that, 2027's 4 years from now, and this Turtle Creek thing's about, and then by the time you get all the licenses and you can connect them to the Southwest Power Pool and all the interoperability issues and the regulatory issues, it's like a 5-year project for a natural gas plant. And that's fast, right? So I hope you guys are looking, there's real estate in Sarpy County that would be probably okay for that, I'm sure. We always want to do our part to help. But somebody needs, I hope your board's looking at it, because it's a concern as a guy that's trying to bring economic development to the area. That chart's a little bit of a concern for me. And the last thing I wanted to know, when the Turtle Creek plant was proposed, and it looks like a really big plant, there were some comments made about it's a peaking plant, meaning that it's going to run 24 hours a day, but it's going to be used predominantly when we're in these peak periods. That's not true, is it? It's just going to provide power 24/7, 365, right?
Yeah. So I'll get there, but if I could,
that's fine.
Ask for a moment or two, sir. You made a comment about how people think about their utility, and we don't want to be a utility that brings negative thoughts to people's minds and create those situations for the community. And I think you're 100% correct. We want to be a utility that you think about maybe 5-10 minutes a year, which is statistically what most customers think about their utility. And it's usually when they have a momentary service disruption. Most times they're not thinking about it, and we're really pleased that they don't have to. So we want to keep it that way, to your point. I think you make some very wise observations when you see the image the way that we've showed it. And we wouldn't look at any resource from a payback perspective, although that is certainly a judicious way to look at it. We would look at it as what is the lowest net operating cost to the portfolio. So we want the lowest cost that maintains our historic reliability, and that resource recommendation is what does it. There is no way the system can be decarbonized by a modest amount of solar like this.
Right.
And I think that's important to say because I do get that comment periodically that I don't want to, usually it's, I'm afraid we're going to be Texas, or I'm afraid we're going to be California. And those fears are well-founded. And that's why we're working so hard to keep us out of those conditions. We don't want to over-rely on the resources. We don't want to assume they can do things they can't. That's a fossil statement, and that's a renewable statement. And so we're being very critical to look at that in the right ways. We have a lot of eyes and ears kind of challenging us when we do that. And so that's, a few momentary thoughts on that. You made a few statements towards the end of your comments around how much the gas plants will run. We have a fleet of approximately, and please don't hold this to me, about 600 megawatts of natural gas right now. They run at 2%. And those resources, just like every other resource, cannot be removed from the portfolio because the portfolio doesn't work the way it has to if they're removed. So I do like to caution folks, we would call that capacity factor, how much the units are generating throughout the year. Just because it has a low capacity factor doesn't really mean a lot of anything, because it's the timing of when those resources are contributing to serve demand and their ability to do those things in those times. So in the past, we have characterized as an organization, maybe to our fault, solar with natural gas backup. That's true in the winter because we peak twice in the winter. We peak in the morning and we peak in the evening. And in some of those peaks, solar's not generating. We don't expect it to. But in the summer, you're going to see all of them running. And that is not a backup situation. That is everybody's contributing, right, to personify the resources. It's an all hands on deck, everybody's contributing. And even if you're Jones Street and you run on oil and you run 20 hours a year, those are the most important 20 hours I need production out of you. And so I just think these moments are great moments to kind of speak critically about the whole portfolio and the attributes that each resource brings to keep the bill low and to keep the service reliable and to reduce emissions over time. You've heard a lot about that from the organization, and we hope to do that over time in a very stable and reliable way.
So this last question is a little bit difficult. You may not be able to answer it, but
Sure.
Is Nebraska Public Power District, is that a public owned, just like OPD?
It has a similar charter, I would say. Their business model is different, sir. They're a generation and transmission organization. They don't have a lot of retail customers.
Okay.
They have basically distribution utilities that tie to the retail customer, and then NPPD provides the bulk power system behind those retail utilities. Yes, sir.
Well, I just read the article in the paper that, they got a grant and they're pursuing another nuclear plant, which I think is pretty forward thinking, obviously, because I'm a fan of nuclear. I think it's the greenest of green energy there is. And then, of course, they operate, is it, I can't name it. What's the name of their plant down there?
Cooper, sir.
Yeah. And it's albeit the smallest one probably in the country almost, if not. They plan to keep using it for another 20 some years or as long as they can, I guess. So I just think I'm encouraged by that. And I'm also encouraged by the fact that Warren, or even our own Warren Buffett, his Mid-America Energy is investing in a nuclear facility out in Wyoming, which is, I think, also very forward-thinking. Although I know the technology is just not quite there yet. But when I look at your chart, and 2027 is 4 years away, and these are all long lead time kind of action items, I just hope your board gets after it pretty quick, because even the, I guess you're calling it the Platteview Solar Farm up there in Utan?
Yes, sir.
I mean, even that's, 2 years away even from, I mean, that thing was approved 2 years ago? Yeah, so I mean, they're long lead time things, so That's just my concern, because we're putting pipe in the ground down here. And once that pipe's in the ground, here comes the people.
Yeah,
So,
we understand. Could I provide a few modest comments on?
yeah,
reactors?
sure. And we would really appreciate it, Brad, if you could get the information Commissioner Warren asked for. If you guys could get that back, because believe it or not, we get a lot of questions about it too. So it's always good to have information so we can provide, factual stuff instead of just speculation.
We're happy to do that. Sorry you didn't get it sooner. Michaela's got it. So, on the reactor side of things, there's a lot of really interesting things going on. And for those maybe that are less familiar, reactors have been in submarines for 60 plus years. The challenge is how do you build them and operate them at a micro scale commercially? And I think to your credit, sir, the challenge is not money. There's tons of money behind these things. The challenge is physics, constructability, how they'll operate in communities. And I think my expectation is over time, we'll get through those. We'll get through those challenges and they'll come on the grid. But one thing we've tried to do is be candid with folks that it will take a long time. And I'm thankful that Mr. Kent and his organization have included us in the site study plan that you referenced, where DED is going to allocate $1 million to identify sites where reactors may be the most acceptable to our community. And so we're happy to participate with them. There's 3 or 4 front-runner reactors. There's the Hitachi model, there's X-Energy, there's NuScale, and there's 1 or 2 more that fail me right now. NuScale just received its NRC license acceptance, which is a huge milestone. We were really excited to see that, but the in-service time for those is very long, as you duly noted, and we will require resources before those are available. And I think for us as system planners, when we work with the organization, it's important for us to be very honest about that. And it was the same thing we said on solar. We said, this is not right for us. This is not right for us. And then that cost curve came down. The technology proved itself, even in harsh climates like this. And we said it is right for us to change our portfolio in this way. And so I would expect we would continue to stay focused on reactors. And I appreciate your question, sir.
Well, thank you. I sometimes we're just going to agree to disagree, and that's fine. Okay. But what I do appreciate, and I think this board appreciates, is that since Javier Fernandez came in, the communication has improved 1,000%. And he's always honest and frank. Even if we don't like what he's saying, he'll say what needs to be said. And so I appreciate that, because there's 100% improvement in our relationship, and it's great working with Michaela and the team. And so we appreciate that, being partners on that level.
Well, I'll take your comments back, sir. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
3 more simple questions, which have kind of been generated here.
Yes, sir.
I was looking through your brochure, and a third of it's taken up by regulatory obligations, and it says it's going to increase your demand 12 to 15%.
Yes, sir.
Is this a part of joining the Southwest Pool?
No, we've been members of the Southwest Power Pool for some time. The Southwest Power Pool is doing something that is consistent across organized markets in the U.S., where people are looking at the amount of resources that they have to have, and they're doing engineering analyses on, is that the right number? And so the Southwest Power Pool is taking the planning reserve margin up, and others are.
So that 12 to 15% is because we're a part of the Southwest Pool.
It's
If we weren't a part of that, you would be looking just at local demand.
If we were not a part of the Southwest Power Pool, there would be significant implications to that I will not be able to adequately describe.
Okay, and then the other thing, Don brought up a concern, and I just want to get this clarified. We were told specifically by OPPD that Turtle Creek Station will be a no more than 15% of the time peaking station. And now I'm hearing, well, but it's going to run 24 hours a day.
I'm glad you asked that question. From an operability perspective, it can run around the clock. It has the ability to do that. From a percentage of time that it's actually producing, it will be significantly lower. We hope sub 15%.
Well, we were told, and I've got that down in notes, specifically 15 to 18%, no more than that. So anyway, the other thing is you mentioned the differences between you and NPPD is the fact that you have retail customers. Those retail customers are customers outside of OPPD's district?
No, sir. So the retail customers, if you just think of a meter. So I have a meter, my wife and I and my 3 sons, we're a retail customer of OPPD. NPPD doesn't have, they have some meters, they have some retail customers, but what they're doing is they're bulk selling power to local embedded utilities
Okay.
who manage the meters and have those customers.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Thanks so much, Brad.
Thank you very much for having me.
Item 6.2, gross SARPI annual return on investment report. Dan Hoynes, Administrator.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Begin the report with, if you're not aware, the Grow SARPI announced a new executive director at their event last week, Michael Rooks. Michael comes to Grow SARPI through, excuse me, the last 4 years as the executive director of the Gateway Development Corporation / Washington County. Michael has a master's degree in public administration, Bachelor of Arts in political science, and extensive experience. I was part of the search team that worked with Grow SARPI. I certainly agree with Mr. Janicki's selection of Michael. I think he's the right person for the right time, and will be appearing for us, in the near future. He's less than a week into the job. So with that, I just provided you a copy of the written report, and I'll get you Michael's contact information. If you need any follow-up on that, Michael can give it to you. That concludes my report.
Perfect. Item number 7 is executive session. Do we not need either one of those?
You just need to announce.
No
We're
needed.
not going to use it.
Okay, then we don't need the executive session, so we'll move to adjournment. All agenda items having been addressed as published, the Board of Commissioners is adjourned.